Namaskar. Uh, Welcome in this lecture series on software engineering fundamental. This is Dr. Bright Keswani, professor in computer science and engineering in Suresh Gyan Vihar University, Jaipur. In today's lecture, we will discuss about software project scheduling. Uh, there are some. These are some learning outcomes and objectives. Uh, as you know, that software project scheduling is one of the most difficult job of the software project manager, and it is an extremely difficult because much of the information used in is empirical and based on particular individual's experience. So through this lecture you will learn about why project scheduling is required, the one thing, and how to schedule in a best way is the second thing. And there are some other objectives, like what are the various guidelines of the project scheduling we have to know. So these are the learning objectives of this lecture. The expected outcomes, as far as expected outcomes are concerned, after the completion of this lecture you will be able to understand the aim and objectives of project scheduling, and about scheduling related activities and various scheduling techniques you will understand. uh, the agenda of this lecture to learn about the first agenda is learn about project scheduling activities, and the second agenda is that you should learn about uh, software product project scheduling techniques. So let us start with the first agenda, which is project scheduling activities. So project scheduling activities involves several things, like uh, the first activity is identify all the tasks and activities within the project, because you cannot schedule the project before you plan the activities properly, you identify all the tasks properly. Okay, so you cannot estimate the time for completion of the project. So identify all tasks in a proper manner and all activities within the project is the first major activity of project scheduling. The second activity is identify dependencies among the activities, like a unit must be tested before it can be integrated in the system. So when you want to because as I earlier said that software is a uh, development of software is a very complex activity, and we have to uh, decompose the uh, problem to solve to easily solve the problem. Okay, so decomposition is the uh, only formula to solve the problem. And if you decompose the software, if there are several modules are there, if several units are there, so the dependency, what is the level of dependency, you have to find out the level of dependency of each and every module, uh, between each and every module. Okay, so identify dependency among the activities is very much important, and it is the second activity, you can say. Estimate the resources or time required for each activity. So you have to estimate the time required for each activity, like uh, the first phase, that is requirement analysis. The second phase, uh, designing and coding and testing and parallel activities, you have to spend your time. So estimate the time required for each activity. So this is the third activity of project scheduling. Next activity is allocate people to activities. You have to assign some responsibilities to people to do the work. Okay, so it is a major, it is, you can say it is a very important task to allocate uh, activities to the right people. Okay, right staff member. The next activity is determine the order of activities. So you have to make a priority list of activities, and you have to set the order of activities. The first activity we will conduct, uh, this is the first activity, this is the second activity, this is the third activity. Yeah, like this you have to categorize and make them in order. Okay, so determine the order of activities is the uh, project scheduling activity, one of the project scheduling activity. And the last project scheduling activity is estimate the time required for the entire development of project. And it is the very much important activity. Why it is important? Because you have to first you have to identify all tasks and activities you are going to perform within the project. Then you identify the dependencies, and then you estimate the time required for each activity, each development activity. Then you have to allocate the people to activity, and then uh, determine the order of activity, then estimate the resources required for the entire development of project. When you proceed in this manner, then you can easily estimate the time required for the entire development project. You are first you have to identify, you have to estimate the time required for development of each activity. Then uh, make the addition of the time required for development of each activity. Then you can easily estimate the required time required for entire development of project. So these are some project scheduling activities related thing. uh, the next topic is next agenda is software project scheduling techniques. It is a very important thing. There are several techniques available uh, for to calculate the uh, project scheduling, to calculate, to control over activities, control over the time, control over the delay in the schedule. So there are some important, these are some important project scheduling techniques. The first technique is work breakdown structure, WBS we can call it, as a WBS in short. Then activity charts are important thing. Project evaluation review technique, which is a very popular technique. PERT is a very popular technique of project scheduling. uh, Gantt charts are another form of another technique for project scheduling. And critical path method, that is called as CPM in short. So CPM is a one of the project scheduling technique. So these are some important project scheduling techniques. Let us discuss each and every technique one by one. The first is work breakdown structure. First of all, we will discuss about the work breakdown structure. Work breakdown structure is hierarchic decomposition or breakdown of a project or major activities into successive levels. This is the uh, example of work breakdown structure. Okay, so you can break down the project into some uh, tasks or modules, and each and every module is decomposes further decomposition is required. And you can divide each and every module in uh, further for simplification. Okay, so this is work breakdown structure. You can divide the work and complete the work as per the proper dividation. Okay, so uh, uh, a work breakdown structure is a hierarchical decomposition, or we can say it is a breakdown of a project or major activities into successive levels, and in which each level is a finer breakdown of the preceding one. You can see it in this figure. Okay, so these are the final breakdown of this activity, and these are the final breakdown of this activity. So this is the major problem, main problem, system related problem, client's problem, and this is the decomposition of problem. So, or you can say the work breakdown. Okay, so you can make this structure to and it is helpful for the scheduling of the project. Okay, and in final form, you can say a work breakdown structure is very similar in structure and layout to a document outline. It is like a document outline, and you can give numbering also here, like 1.0, 1.1, and that for 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, 1.4, 1.5, and so on. Okay, so this is the major problem, and it is further decomposes in six parts, and each part is further decomposes in, like 1.1 is decomposed in 1.1.1, 1.1.2, 1.1.3, and 1.1.4, and likewise the 1.2 activity is product design is further decomposed in 1.2.1 and 1.2.2 and 1.2.3, and 1.2.1 may be an important activity or tedious activity, so it is further divided into two activities, like 1.2.1.1 and 1.2.1.2. So this is 1.2.1, and 1.2.1 is similar, same in this diagram, and zero point 0.1 and zero point 0.2 is the means there are two activities of 1.2.1, and 1.2 having 1, 2, and 3 activities in under 1.2. Okay, so this is the simplest structure, simplest technique related to the project scheduling. Okay, now the goals, each goal can be divided, can be individually planned for these three things. Resource requirements are important, assignment of responsibility is important, and scheduling is important. So decomposition is based on three things. First is resource requirement related decomposition. Second is assignment of responsibility related decomposition, and third is for scheduling related requirements. So when you decompose a system, when you decompose a problem, you can uh, consider these three factors when you are going to decompose the or break down the work. Okay, so the major feature of work breakdown structure is its structure. Like you can say it, you can see it in this diagram. It is a organizational chart and different desktop applications after formalities to easily create this kind of diagram. You can use your uh, Excel or some other office management tools to draw such diagrams. Okay, description is another part important feature of WBS. Each WBS element should be described with a title, and the meaning of each title should be very clear. And on the other hand, to restrict the size of the diagram, the length of the title might have to be restricted. Don't use long titles. Always use short titles. Okay, and summarized titles. Okay, so and easy to understand titles. So you can in the description, each element should be described with a title, and title should be meaningful. The second thing is coding related. One of the main feature of WBS is the ability to uniquely code the different elements of the work. Okay, and the coding system can be alphabetical or numeric or alphanumeric. You can see in this figure the coding 1.0, 1.1, 1.2, 1.3. So these are the coding. We are say that we are considered it as a coding. Coding means what? When you are talking about 1.0, what is this? New toy. What is 1.2? Product design. What is 1.5? Marketing. So marketing, when you said that 1.5 means you are talking about marketing. Okay, so coding is important and it helps the further identification. It gives the further identification to all the uh, units. Like when we are talking about marketing plan, it is the part of marketing because it consists of 1.5.2 number. Okay, so coding is important. You can give coding as an alphabet also. This is the problem A, and it is further divided into A point B, A point C, A point D, A point E, likewise. Okay. Now uh, next major feature is depth. Okay, so it is recommended that you should draw the WBS diagram up to 3 to 4 levels only. Okay, otherwise it is very much difficult to understand such programs, and a deeper hierarchies are required. The division into sub projects can be used, and one element would then present one sub project. Okay, so uh, uh, there are some restriction there are some restrictions or some recommendations from uh, the WBS that it should be up to 3 to 4 levels only. Otherwise, it will increase the complexity within your system. Okay. The next is level of detail. Level of detail means how detailed your work is. Okay, so detail your work is in the title. You are explaining uh, the working of the module, working of the unit in the title also. So make your title concise, make your title uh, 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 meaningful, so that the reader can easily understand that what is happening inside in this decomposition. Okay, now come to the next thing. Uh, these are the major features of WBS: structure, decomposition, coding, depth, and level of details. Now we will discuss about the use of WBS. What is the use of WBS? It is useful for dividing the project into phases. It is useful for dividing the project into responsibility areas within the organization, and it is useful for dividing the schedule of the project into sub schedules whose interrelations are known. And the next use is for giving grounds to following the cost of the project by defining clear targets to it, for giving hierarchical outline and coding for the work to be done, and for enabling integration planning and managing of the project from financial and scheduling perspective. So these are some use of important use of WBS. Okay, now come to the next tool, that is network activity networks. The activity networks developed for evaluating the performance of large development projects. This is the simple form of activity network. Three stages of activity networks are: first is planning, second is scheduling, and third is analysis. Okay, planning means what? Planning consists of what? Planning consists of identify tasks and estimate duration of time. Okay, so duration of plan, duration or schedule, planning for duration, planning for time, estimation for time, identification of task is the first stage of activity network. In the second stage, and you can uh, arrange in feasible sequence also. Okay, and you have to draw the diagrams, which is the part of planning. Then in the scheduling, the purpose of scheduling to estimate timetable of start and finish times. So what is scheduling actually? Scheduling is concerned with the start time to the till the end time. So you have to mention the start time and the end time. So in this picture, you can see that start time is there and end time is there, and there are the number of activities here. So the third thing is analysis. Analysis means establish floats and evaluate and revise it if necessary. If the changes in this figure is required, then you can change it, but after only after the analysis is done. So this is the general diagram of activity network, the activity network of tasks needed to complete a project, showing the order in which the tasks need to be completed and the independencies between them. This is represented graphically as I represented here. It is it as a graphically form. Okay, what is critical path? This is the critical path. And what it's mean? The critical path means total time for activity on this path is greater than any other path through the network. Means delay in any task on the critical path leads to a delay in the project. So this is the activity network. Uh, Activity network have uh, some types also. Sometime you consider PERT as and CPM is a activity network, but we are considering it as a different tool, different technique. uh, let us discuss about the project evaluation review technique, that is PERT. PERT is very important project management tool, and it is used to schedule, organize, and coordinate tasks within a project. So these are the various steps to create a PERT chart. Uh, the first step is identify all the project activities. Second is identify dependencies. In the third step, draw your chart. And in the fourth step, establish timelines for all activities. So, make a list of the project tasks is the first aim. You have to assign a task identification letter to each task and determine the duration time for each task, which is the major aim of uh, PERT. And draw the PERT network, number each node, label each task with its task identification letter, connect each node from start to finish, and put each task's duration on the network. So this is the how this is the process how to create a PERT chart. Then determine the need for any dummy task, and determine the earliest completion time for each task node. Then determine the latest completion time for each task node, and lastly verify the PERT network for correctness. So this is the general, or you can say simple steps through you can create a PERT chart. First, identify. I'm repeating again all steps. First, you have to identify all the major phases, milestones, and tasks needed to complete the project. Secondly, if you determine some tasks or activities have dependencies, you will want to depict those tasks with directional arrows, and this will ensure your team knows the sequence they need to track each task. In the third step, uh, draw your chart. The next step is to take the events and milestones means numbered nodes you have identified, and draw them out. Then write out the tasks and activities that the team must complete between each node, and using directional arrows or divergent arrows accordingly. Okay, uh, this is the third step. And the fourth step, establish timelines for all activities. You should know, and you should now set a time frame when the team will need to complete those tasks along with the all arrows. For example, in our mockup above, in you can see that there are don't consider examples because there are so many examples, and to draw the chart, per chart. But uh, there are some limitations and benefits are also of PERT chart. So the benefit of PERT chart is, uh, the first benefit of PERT chart is, it provides a graphical display of project activities that helps the users understand the relationship among the activities. The second is, it is the ideal technique for tactical level planning and operational level control of projects. The third benefit of PERT chart is, it is effective in planning single project activities in any type of industry. And fourthly, it allows project managers to do what if analysis on project activities. So these are some concrete benefits of PERT chart. A PERT network is continuously useful to project managers prior to and during a project. Remember this thing. And the PERT network is straightforward in its concepts, and it supported by software also. A PERT network's graphical representation of the project task helps to show the task interrelationships. As I said earlier, that interrelationship is very important, and it will be depicted in the PERT chart. Okay, and the use of PERT network is applicable in a wide variety of projects. So it is a widely used uh, uh, technique in project management and scheduling. PERT is a scheduling tool that also shows graphically which task must be completed before other are begin. Okay, so uh, it enables the calculation of critical path also. You can the managers can uh, do the planning, do the analysis through the PERT chart. Okay, so PERT chart is very important, but it has some limitations also. In order for the PERT network to be useful, project tasks have to be clearly defined as well as their relationship to each other, the first limitation. The second limitation, the PERT network does not deal very well with task overlaps. PERT assumes the task begin after their preceding tasks ends. So these are some limitations. The PERT network is only as good as the time estimates that entered by the project manager, and PERT does not help in deciding which activity are necessary or how long each will take. So these are some limitations. It cannot effectively handle situations in which two or more projects share available resources, and it fails when there is a change in the precedence and sequential relationships of project activities, and it requires a lot of information as input to generate an effective plan, and this may prove uh, too expensive. Okay, so these are some limitations of PERT chart. Now uh, we will discuss about the Gantt chart. Uh, the Gantt chart provides a graphical illustration like PERT chart. It is also provides a graphical illustration of a schedule that helps to plan, coordinate, and track specific tasks in a project. So a Gantt chart is also important, and uh, it is a Gantt chart is a horizontal bar chart developed as a production control tool in 1970s. Okay, it is developed by an American scientist, American engineer and social scientist, and it is frequently used in a project management. So, a Gantt chart is useful for tracking and reporting progress as well as for graphically displaying a schedule. Gantt charts are used to report progress because they present an easily understandable picture of project status. As you can see it in this illustration, there is an illustration between tasks and time. There are number of tasks and what we have decided, uh, time required and time. There are so many types of Gantt charts. First type is this, where we are saying we are depicting that the task is completed. It started in last January, January 19th, and it is completed in mid of March 19. Okay. Likewise, you can see here in this picture that there are some time period or scheduling we have illustrated in this figure. Yeah, in number of activities corresponding to the number of activities like planning uh, have some time, this much of time. Research is started in this month and ended with this month. Design activities is started in this month and ended in this month. Implementation is started in this month and ended with this month, and follow up is started in this month and ended with this month. This is the simple Gantt chart, format of Gantt chart. And this is the another example of Gantt chart showing the planning duration and actual duration. So you can see here the planned duration and the actual duration. Okay. So somehow when actual duration is there are two things in our planning. When we are planning, sometimes, and this is basically for tracking the uh, project, uh, the activities of the project. Okay, so we can draw. First, we can plan the activity, plan the duration of the activity, and then what is the actual duration, what time we spend on that activity. We have to draw it. Okay, so you can see in this figure there are two bars. The first bar is red one and the second bar is blue one. So and both are having different length. So sometimes you what you have planned is not the actual duration. Okay, so the difference is easily calculated through this chart. Okay, sometimes we are uh, behind the schedule, sometimes we are forward the schedule. Okay, so there are various methods to there are various tools available to draw the Gantt chart. uh, Prince is the one tool. You can use Mac Project is the second tool, and you can when you are using Microsoft Windows and Microsoft products, so you can use the Microsoft Project and Microsoft Excel to draw the Gantt chart easily. Okay, so uh, purpose of a Gantt chart is to present a project schedule that shows the relationship of activities over time, and Gantt chart are a project planning tool that can be used to present the timing of tasks required to complete a project. Because Gantt charts are simple to understand and easy to construct, they are used by most project managers for all but the most complex in the most complex projects. So uh, uh, you can assume that the when your uh, project is very complex in nature, you should use the Gantt chart, okay, as a tool. These are the reasons why you use the Gantt charts. There are several reasons. Gantt charts are useful for planning and scheduling projects, and they help you assess how long a project should take. They help you to assess, to determine the resources needed, and they have to assess, plan the order in which you will complete the tasks. They are also helpful for managing the dependencies between tasks. So Gantt chart is very much important. Gantt charts are convenient means of presenting graphical schedules, appointments, and events, and such charts helps members of an organization to plan activities in a better manner. Okay, information about what is happening, when is happening, where is happening, and who will be present is available through the Gantt chart, and it is valuable to concerned people in the organization also. It is good because it plots activities as bar on a time scale. You can see in the previous figure that there are activities planned in as a bar scale, so you can easily calculate the time. You can easily identify the time required for or plan for the activity, and uh, what the exact time spent on the performance of activity. Okay, so it plots activity as bars on a time scale. It indicates different activities, it indicates different responsibilities, it indicates different estimates, and planned activities start with start and target dates, and it indicates different actual start and target dates. Okay, start and target dates. So it consists of what? It consists of scheduling activities. It provides you the illustration about the coordinating activities. It provides you the illustration about the evaluating progress, and you can reallocating resources in case of problem. So Gantt chart is very useful. Okay, and these are some reasons why you use the Gantt chart. These are the advantages of Gantt chart, like improve team productivity, resource planning, give you the ability to manage complex information. It will project requirements are clear with Gantt charts, and one page for different tasks is there. You should know you will know through the Gantt chart the project progress, and uh, it will provide the team communication. It will check task dependencies. So these are the advantages of Gantt charts. It provides an easily understandable overview of a project for those without any technical background. Okay, so it is easy to understand, and there is no need to have a technical background to draw and to uh, understand the Gantt chart. Okay, and Gantt charts are relatively easy to create and maintain. You can use the Microsoft project or Microsoft Excel to draw the Gantt chart. So it is easily approachable. It is relatively easy to create and maintain the Gantt chart. It is able to reflect the status of each project task at any point in time. Okay, and it is able to present overlapping or parallel tasks. So through the Gantt chart, you can easily find out various parallel tasks if assigned by the management, and uh, if some overlapping is there, you can easily identify the overlapping of tasks through the diagram of Gantt chart. Okay, there are some disadvantages, although advantages are more and disadvantages are less of Gantt chart. It does not show a task interrelationship. There is there are not no I, not ideal for this is not these are not ideal for project control. So these are the major disadvantages. They can become extraordinarily complex. The size of the bar does not indicate the amount of work, and they need to be consistently updated. Difficult to see on one sheet of paper, because sometimes Gantt charts are too uh, big or too large to see on single sheet of the paper. Okay, so and they need to be consistently updation when requirements are changed, when the scheduling is changed. The it has to be reflect in the Gantt chart also. Okay, so this is all about Gantt chart and part. And now we will discuss about the critical path method, which is the last, uh, we can say, the last method of this project scheduling technique. The critical path method (CPM) is a method used in project planning, generally for project scheduling for a non-time completion of the project. For the on-time completion of the project. It actually helps in the determination of the earliest time by which the whole project can be completed. There are two main concepts in this method, namely critical task and critical path. What is critical task? Critical task is the task or activity which cannot be delayed. Otherwise, the completion of the whole project will be delayed, and it must be completed on time before starting the other dependent tasks. And what is critical task path? As I said earlier in the critical the previous connect and network uh, activity network, that critical path is a sequence of critical task or activity, and it is the largest path in the project network. It gives us the minimum time which is required to complete the whole project. The activities in the critical path are known as critical activities, and if these activities are delayed, then the completion of the whole project is also delayed. So, critical path method is dependent on two things. Remember this thing, that it is dependent on two things. First is critical task, and second is critical path. If the critical path is delayed, then uh, 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 or critical task is delayed, then the whole project is also delayed. Okay, so there are some steps of the critical path method. The first step is identify the activities. You should identify the activities first when drawing the critical path. Then construct the project network. You should make node and root node and your diagrams for construct the project network. Then perform time estimation using forward and backward pass. You have to identify the estimation of time for forward and backward pass. Then identify the critical path. So these are the major steps of critical path method. Now we will discuss about the critical path analysis, which is the part of critical path technique. Okay, so critical path analysis is a technique used to plan the most effective order that a series of processes are completed. The most important aspect of it is the ability to identify those activities that can be done at the same time. So it is very important. Critical path analysis is an effective and powerful method of assessing what tasks must be carried out, where parallel activities can be performed, and the shorter time in which you can complete a project. Resources needed, what kind of resources, how many resources are needed to execute a project is also a part of critical path analysis. And the sequence of activities, scheduling, and timing involved in the activities is also a part of critical path analysis. It will provide you the task priorities also, and the most effective way, it provides you the most effective way of shortening time on urgent projects. So you can say that effective critical path analysis can make the difference between success and failure on complete complex projects, and it can be very useful for assessing the importance of problem faced during the implementation of the plan. Okay, so PERT is a variant of critical path analysis that takes a uh, more effective view of the time needed to complete each project stage. So critical path analysis is the part of CPM, uh, uh, critical path method, and it is uh, it has many benefits. uh, what are the benefits? These all are the benefits of CPM. It identifies the tasks that must be completed on time for the whole project to be completed on time. Okay, so this is the first benefit. Second benefit, it also identifies which tasks can be delayed for a while if sources needs to be reallocated to catch up on missed tasks. So these are the benefits. It figures out the activities which can run parallel to each other. It helps the project manager in identifying the most critical elements of the project. It gives a practical and disciplined base which helps in determining how to reach the objectives. And CPM is very effective in new project management. CPM can strengthen a team perception if it is applied properly. Okay, it is very important that CPM is to apply properly. CPM provides a demonstration of dependencies, which helps in the scheduling of individual activities, and it shows the activities and their outcomes as a network diagram. It gives a fair and concise procedure of documenting of projects, and it helps in determining the uh, slack time. So it is extensively used in industry. It helps in optimization by determining the project duration. Are several benefits of CPM. Some limitations are also there. It has the it has following disadvantages. First disadvantage is that the scheduling of staff is not handled by the CPM. In CPM, it is difficult to estimate the completion time of an activity, and the critical path is not always clear in CPM. The bigger project For the bigger project, CPM network can be complicated too, and it also does not handle the scheduling of the resource allocation. In CPM, critical path needs to be calculated precisely. These are the limitations. So this is all about your uh, project scheduling techniques, and this is all about today's class. This is the time for assessment through multiple choice questions. So the first question is, the main objective of dash is to look into the future, identify the activities that need to be done to complete the project successfully, and plan the schedule and resource allocation for these activities. The available options are four options are there: designing, testing, planning, and QA and activity. So what is the right answer? The planning is the right answer. So the main objective of planning is to look into the future. Planning is for future, identify of the activities and need to be done to complete the project successfully is the main target of planning. Second is, what happens when a project is scheduled by CPM? What happens when a project is scheduled by CPM? The first option is, a project is divided into various activities, and the B part is, required time for each activity is established. The third is, a sequence of various activities is made according to their importance. So these are some options available here, and the last is all of above. So I think all of above is the right answer, because a project scheduled by CPM, it is divided into various activities, and each and a time required time for each activity is established during CPM, and a sequence of various objectives is made according to their importance uh, when the project is scheduled by CPM. Okay. The third question: which of the following is not project management goal? Uh, the first option is keeping overall cost within the project. Second is delivering the software to the customer at the agreed time. And third is maintaining a happy and well functioned development. And third is avoiding customer complaints. So I the last one is important, because if the customer is not satisfied, we are working for the customer, as per the customer need, as per the customer demand. So satisfied customer is more important than all other things. So what is the answer? Avoiding customer complaints. D is the right answer. Project managers have to assess the risks that may affect a project. Is it true or false? It is false. Project manager have to assess the risk that may affect a project. It is a false. It is a uh, uh, task of a tester. Okay. The fifth question: the process each manager follows during the life of a project known as project management, merger manager life cycle, project management life cycle, and all of the mentioned. So the answer is project management life cycle. Through the project management life cycle, you can uh, 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 manage, you can control, you can monitor all the activities, all the processes of the software life cycle. Okay. The next question is, what is a critical path? The available answer is, available options are: it is a path that operates from the starting node to the end node. And B is, it is a mixture of the all all paths. C is, it is the longest path, and D is the shortened path. The critical path is the longest path. Okay. So the answer is C. Actual performance of the task is called an event, an activity, or duration, or none of these. The answer is activity. Actual performance of a task is called as activity. The eighth is the essential condition for the decompression of an activity is that A is, the project time should change due to decompression time. Okay. B is, after decompression time of an activity invariably exceeds its normal time. The C is, an activity could be decompressed to the maximum extent of its normal time. And D is none of above. The right answer is C. An activity could be decomposed or decompressed to the maximum extent to its normal time. In the ninth question, what is the particular task performance in CPM known as dummy, event, activity, or contract? The answer is activity. Okay. So each task performance is called as activity. The last question, what is PERT analysis based on? Optimistic time, or pessimistic time, or most likely time, or all of the above? All of the above. You can the PERT analysis based on optimistic time, pessimistic time, and most likely time. Okay. So right answer is D. This is the self-assessment uh, through multiple choice questions. Now, if you have any query, then you can consult with these books, uh, and I hope you will find the appropriate reply of your any query through these books. This is all from my side, and I hope this lecture provided you a clear cut understanding about the topic that we have chosen for today. Have a good day. Thank you.